Hey everyone, welcome back to Williamson Ridge Outdoors. Today we are standing at the back of our tractor because I picked up a little accessory for it that I have really kind of been needing to get. My toolbox on my tractor, the latches on it broke, and it's just made out of cheap plastic. It's the factory Kubota toolbox. It's starting to leak now because you can't really close it down good and tight. So I decided to try to find me a replacement. So this is a 20-inch metal toolbox, and I picked this up at Rural King. It was about 40 bucks. I also looked around all over the place and couldn't find anything else like this. I looked on Amazon. Yeah, they got toolboxes and stuff, but they don't have one that's even listed as, you know, one to go on a tractor or anything like that. So anyways, I picked this up there. It's 40 bucks. We're going to find out if this thing will just mount right onto the tractor or whether there's going to need to be modifications and stuff involved. So let's take a look at it and see how hard this thing is to put on. So first of all, as you can see, the latch is broke over here on this little toolbox, and I'm going to try to mount this thing to where that it does not interfere with my seat at all, because this one right here, if you bring the seat all the way back and try to put any kind of angle on the back, it's against this box, and then you can't even open it, like where it's got pressure against the top of the lid. So I'm going to try to shift the new box. Hopefully the mounting brackets will let that box shift this way. That way it will miss everything. Plus, I mean, the box is quite a bit bigger than this, but if those mounting brackets and stuff will let it move back and shift back, it should be fine. It should still leave me clearance to get into anything here, whether it be my plug, which I've never used it, but in case I do need to use it in the future, I don't want my toolbox to interfere with that. Also, being able to get in here, if I add second hydraulics or even third, then these will be stacked up higher. So I definitely don't want interference with my toolbox. So we're going to try to account for all that now so that later on we don't have to change it. But this should be pretty simple. It's only got 2 bolts holding this on, and they're actually, they don't even have nuts on them. They're actually threaded into this metal brace right here. Actually has the nuts made into it. So all we got to do is just loosen them up from the inside. So we've got a 12mm socket. This thing had some water and stuff trapped under it, so I'm going to go ahead and clean and dry that off. So let me show you what I'm thinking with this. I've already put the brackets on the bottom of the toolbox, and all these are, they lock on the front, and then you tighten it down the set screw back here on the back, and they both go in grooves, the front and the back. And you can adjust these. You can loosen them up and slide them wherever you need them. But I know that this alone is probably going to put the toolbox too close to the seat. That actually wouldn't be bad right there if the seat wasn't against it, because your slow moving sign, you could still use or be able to put that sign in there. Maybe have to kind of tweak it just a hair, but you can still use that without too much trouble. We may end up just having to move that in order to get this to work completely, but we'll see. So what I'm thinking about trying is actually mounting the flat bar on here like so, bolt this down, and then mount the toolbox to the flat bar so that the toolbox can sit out here farther away from the seat. That ought to work out pretty good. Now on these, I'm actually going to use the factory bolts to bolt these down with. I'm going to go ahead and mount the toolbox mounts. You can see how these are made. I'm going to go ahead and mount these to these bars. And as you can see too, it takes our set screw, and instead of that being all the way back here now against the seat, then that's moved us forward a good 6 inches. So we're going to put this on here, see how it all looks, and see if it's going to be in the way of anything, see how everything fits together. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. So let me show you what we've got. So I ended up mounting the thin, small, flat bar to the factory hole. As you can see, the factory bolt mounted in there. And then this thing here doesn't fit 100% as far as getting it back, or getting the toolbox back. What I done first actually was mounted this to where that this part of the bracket was in front of the bolt. And when you done that, it made it stick way out here. And when you put the toolbox on, it would flex, you know, and it would have quite a bit of movement in it. And I didn't really like that, so I slid this thing back. This bracket doesn't fit over these bolts, which you could change the bolt here and solve this problem completely, but I went ahead and tightened it down to see if I could still fit the toolbox on there, even with this bracket bent just a hair. So we're going to try that out, and if this works, it's going to be pretty solid, and I'll be happy with it. I can leave it right there. And it'll give me about 2 or 3 inches between the seat and my toolbox, which is a lot more room than I had with the old one. Okay, now that's a lot better. See, that right there actually is pretty good. Actually, the movement that's happening there is actually here in the lid. The box itself, I can put quite a lot of pressure on that, and it's solid as can be. So I'm real happy with that. The toolbox will flip right open and stay open. The lid does go back against the seat right there, but I actually have about 2 or 3 inches between the toolbox and the seat. I'll show you that here in just a second. I'm real happy with this so far, the way that this is coming out. It seems to be a good solid mount. I'm quite happy with that. This is going to have a whole lot more room in it than what the old toolbox did. This is where I keep the seat setting at 90% of the time whenever I'm running the tractor. As you can see, I've got a good gap right here that's about 2.5, 3 inches or so between the seat and the toolbox. And this is where I was running the other toolbox was right against the seat. And I had to actually, whenever I opened the lid, put pressure against the seat to actually get it to open. And this one, it opens up and leans against the seat, but it doesn't hinder the movement of the lid or anything like that. The old toolbox is only about 14 inches or so, and it's not nearly as wide. The big problem is there's so much room, they made it kind of rounded down inside it, and so you lose even more space, and you can't hardly fit anything in here. You get just a few bushings or hitch pins or something like that, and this thing is full. I like to be able to try to carry a few tools and stuff with me, plus some bushings and fittings that I might need to be able to hook up different implements and keep them all right here on the tractor. So I think this box is going to work out good. The only thing is, we may have to paint it orange to match the tractor, but you know, for now, black is going to be okay. So I think I am going to line this thing with that toolbox liner. And one last thing, these bolts are definitely a little bit long, so it'd just be a matter of cutting these off or just buying some new bolts that are a lot shorter, because you definitely do not need bolts that long for this, or at least the way that I mounted it. If you had a different application and was mounting it to something else, yes, you might need to use those long bolts, and I'm sure that's why they included them in there. But the good thing is, the way that this is mounted on was used with all the hardware from the toolbox. It didn't have to go anywhere to get anything to get it to work. Everything was included in the package. It had a whole bunch of different mounting brackets so that you could use different applications or mount it to different areas, and it had all these different brackets. So it ended up enabling me to extend where I wanted the box setting to allow me room. It made a good solid mount. I have a lot bigger toolbox than what I did have. We're going to get it filled up, And that way I can clean up some of my mess, a bunch of my hitch pins and cotter pins and all that kind of stuff that I would carry for the tractor. I didn't have in my other box because I couldn't fit them in there. Stuff was falling out of it. So they're definitely going to fit in here, and I'll be able to carry everything that I've got. So this is everything that came out of the old toolbox, and the old toolbox wouldn't even close hardly because it did have so much stuff in it. I just want to give you an idea of what and all you can fit in here. There's tons of room still in this box. I mean, it's almost empty, whereas the other one was full. Thanks for following along with us today on our toolbox install. This is a pretty simple job. It was able to be installed with all the hardware that came with it. And if you'd like to pick one of these up, I'll leave a link in the description below to Rural King's website where this box is at. I don't get any kind of royalties or commission off of it. I just thought it would be nice to share this information because I've been looking for a toolbox for a while. I hope this video helps someone out. And if you enjoy videos like this, make sure to click that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.